Great. Thank you, Mike. Good morning. Good morning. And thank you for joining us and welcome to our fourth weekly webinar in the wake of the coronavirus crisis that we're experiencing right now. Today, our guest speaker is Mr. Scott De Verona. He is the MiABLE administrator for Michigan, and he is going to talk with us about the Michigan Disability Savings Program, which is titled MiABLE. And one of the reasons that we asked Scott to join us today is because the ABLE accounts, or opening an ABLE account with the $1,200 stimulus, is a great way for people with disabilities to save that money either until they need it, or it's a good way for you to for it not to be counted against your Social Security benefits as assets. And so without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Scott. Oh, before I do that, I just want to remind everyone connected by Zoom that we do have, there is closed captioning available for this meeting. If you click the up arrow that is to the right of the CC button, you can click on Enable Subtitles, and you will be able to have captioning for the presentation. So Scott, we will pass it over to you.
Good morning. First of all, I'd like to thank Tedra for setting this up. I appreciate being able to get in front of a diverse group of individuals who may be able to partake in the ABLE program. As Tedra said, my name is Scott De Verona. I am the program director for the Michigan Department of Treasury 529 ABLE program. I have been with the program since it started in November of 2016. I've worked for Treasury for about 12 years, but I've been with the state of Michigan for 21 years. So I've been around and I've seen a lot and I've done a lot. So today we're going to talk about the ABLE program, how it came about, why it came about, what can it do for you, for your family, for your beneficiaries. I'm going to talk about nationally what all ABLE account features. It is a national program, and like 46 different programs exist out there. But I am going to spend a lot of time talking about Michigan and what Michigan has done to make the Michigan program a great feature for individuals who live within the state of Michigan. It's a little bit more difficult via Zoom to talk about and do the demonstration about how one would enroll. I will do the demonstration. It's just a lot easier to follow when you're in person, so we'll talk about that also. I always leave time at the end for questions and answers, so feel free if you have anything where you have a question, feel free to write it down, and I will get to it when we get to that portion of the presentation. So, without further ado, I'm going to talk to you about the ABLE Act and how it came about. In December of 2014, Congress passed the ABLE Act, and it was to overwhelming congressional support. Republicans, Democrats, young women, young, old, men, women, everybody in Congress felt that this was a great idea. Because for far too long, we've told individuals with disabilities, stay broke. Don't ever have more than $2,000 in assets, or you're going to lose eligibility for Medicaid and any of the federal programs that you're entitled to. 30 years ago, when the Americans with Disabilities Act was passed, everyone was concerned about accessibility, making sure that individuals with disabilities could get into public places like schools and museums and hospitals and things like that. Well, the second part of the ADA was not addressed. It was not addressed until 2014 with the passage of the ABLE Act, because the Americans with Disabilities Act also talked about allowing individuals with disabilities to become economically self-sufficient. You cannot become economically self-sufficient when you are limited to $2,000 in assets, which is why Congress created the ABLE program. What they did is it created a new section of IRS code called 529A, which authorized a tax advantage savings program just for individuals with disabilities. You must have a disability in order to open an ABLE account. It's not for everyone. These accounts enable individuals to save for their future expenses while protecting eligibility for public benefits. You no longer have to worry about jeopardizing your eligibility for having too much money in your bank account. If you have earnings in the program, they grow tax-free as long as those earnings are used for qualified disability expenses. When we talk about the ABLE program, we talk a lot about qualified disability expenses. This is the money that what the funds can be used for. And we're going to talk a lot about that coming up. But the money has to be used for QDE, qualified disability expenses. So in general, let's talk about an ABLE account. An ABLE account is nothing more than a bank account. It's just like a bank account that you would open at Comerica or Bank of America or Fifth Third, only it is run by the state of Michigan. In this case, the state of Michigan. In order to be a qualified 529 program, it must be run by a state. The rules are pretty simple. You're limited to one ABLE account. If you have an ABLE account open in another state, you can't open one in Michigan. Likewise, if you have an ABLE account already open in Michigan, you can't open another one in another state. The account owner is the designated beneficiary. The person with the disability owns this account. It's their money. Regardless of how it's funded, regardless of who put the money in the account, it is their money. There are 4 different people who can open an ABLE account: the person with the disability themselves, their parent, somebody who is listed as a power of attorney, or someone who has been court appointed as a guardian can open an ABLE account. The rules for contributions are pretty simple. For the year 2020, you are allowed up to $15,000 in contributions. And that's for everybody. Anybody who opens an ABLE account can put $15,000 in every year. However, for individuals who are working and have an income, they can contribute up to that income into the ABLE account, subject to the poverty limit cap. So theoretically, someone who is disabled, has an ABLE account, and is working could contribute up to $27,000 annually in their ABLE account. We're going to talk a little bit more about that coming up too. One of the most important aspects of ABLE accounts is that all money in an ABLE account is excluded for Medicaid eligibility checks. You no longer have to worry about making sure that bank account is below $2,000. You can put the money in an ABLE account and it will not count against you. Medicaid is listed as the primary beneficiary when the beneficiary who owns the account passes away. Medicaid does reserve the right to become the first to claw back, that's their word, not mine, to claw back any proceeds that are in an account. Now, what I can tell you today, as of May 14th, 2020, Michigan Medicaid has never made a claim to what was left in a bank account. It has, or in an ABLE account, excuse me. It hasn't happened yet. I can't tell you that it will never happen, but I can tell you that it hasn't happened yet. In fact, we've closed a number of accounts recently with the coronavirus. People have needed their money, and Michigan Medicaid has not made a claim to what's left in those accounts. When you reach significant assets in your ABLE account, which in this case is $100,000, that does count as a resource for SSI calculations. It won't change your eligibility. You will still be eligible for SSI or SSDI or whichever program you're entitled to, but they will not write that monthly benefit check. Now, a lot of people ask me, why in the world would I ever want to lose that source of income? You may not want to. That may be part of your strategy. Start using that money. Once it gets close to $100,000, start using it to pay for your qualified disability expenses, and you won't have to worry about losing that income stream. Who's eligible to open an ABLE account? Anyone who became disabled prior to age 26. I'm going to talk about the asterisks in a second. As I said earlier, you're limited to one ABLE account, which means you can't open a second account if you have one open in another state. There are 3 ways that you can prove eligibility. You can be eligible for SSI or SSDI because of that disability. You can have a condition listed on the Social Security Administration Compassionate Allowances List, which is a number of different syndromes and conditions that the Social Security Office agrees, yes, this is a disabling condition. Furthermore, the IRS does allow individuals to self-certify, essentially with a doctor's certificate that says this person has a disability and this person needs an ABLE account to save for their future expenses. Now, I talked at the beginning that there's an asterisk next to the disability prior to age 26. Congress has already proposed to change the age of onset from 26 to 46. However, it is highly doubtful that this will pass, especially in this current environment. They are working diligently, they're working diligently on the response to the coronavirus. So this is way back on the back burner. I do believe it will happen at some point in the future. I just don't know when. There are a number of individuals who are left out of this program who I can't help right now. Individuals who suffer from traumatic brain injuries after age 26, I can't help. Individuals who are diagnosed with multiple sclerosis or ALS after age 26, they're not eligible to participate in this program. So I think Congress has realized that they need to make adjustments to the age range. They want to include more people in this program. However, the limit of 26 exists now today. I told you earlier that the proceeds of these accounts must be used for qualified disability expenses, and now we're going to talk exactly what does that mean. What is a qualified disability expense? The IRS defines them as costs related to the beneficiary's disability or blindness. It's got to be related in some way to their disability. QDE must be for the benefit of the beneficiary, which means you can't withdraw money from your ABLE account and give it to somebody else. It can't be used as a gift. It's got to be for that person's disability-related expenses. Tracking of qualified disability expenses is the responsibility of the beneficiary, the person who owns the account, or whoever helps administer the account, the authorized legal representative, whether that's a parent, a guardian, or a power of attorney. Because those expenses are subject to audit by the IRS and the Social Security Administration. They may ask for evidence that the money withdrawn from an ABLE account was used for a qualified disability expenses. You'll have to have that evidence at some point. Now, it hasn't happened yet. I have heard of no Michigan audits by the IRS and the Social Security Administration. Because this program is so new, I don't expect there to be any soon, but there will be in the future. I guarantee you at some point, the IRS and the Social Security Administration are going to ask to see evidence that these accounts were used for qualified disability expenses. So make sure that you're tracking those. And you do receive a quarterly statement that will have all your deposits and withdrawals on them so that you can provide that evidence to the IRS if they ask for it. So now we get into the really nitty-gritty. What does the IRS mean? What is a qualified disability expense? QDE is meant to be as broad as possible and includes the expenses of everyday living, which means a lot of different expenses can be used for these accounts. Number one is education. Just like you use a 529 education account to pay for tuition, books, fees, computers, the cost of higher education, you can use your ABLE account for all that stuff too. In addition, you can also use your ABLE account to pay for housing, rent, mortgage, utilities, garbage removal service, internet service fees, making modifications to residents to allow for wheelchair accessibility. Anything related to housing or putting shelter over someone is an allowable expense. Any form of transportation, whether that's a car, a plane, a train, a boat, a bicycle, an Uber, any form of transportation is an allowable expense. If you have to pay to move someone from one place to another, that's a transportation expense and it is an allowable expense from an ABLE account. If you need to pay a doctor or a hospital or a private duty nurse or a nursing facility, any healthcare or medical costs are allowable expenses out of an ABLE account. That includes pharmacy costs. That includes things like durable medical equipment, wheelchairs, or any other sort of mobility aids. Those are allowable expenses in an ABLE account. Anything that's going to help a person with a disability become more employable. A certificate class to for refrigeration, or a resume writing class, or classes that help with socialization. Those are all allowable expenses out of an ABLE account. If you need to purchase any form of assistive technology like an iPad or an e-reader or an iPhone, you can pay for those out of an ABLE account. In fact, the IRS was very specific. They said a lot of individuals with disabilities use their iPhone to help with their scheduling, to help with navigation, to get from place to place, to make sure they take their medicine on time, things like that. An iPhone and the costs associated with that iPhone would fall under assistive technology, and it is allowable expense out of an ABLE account. Personal support services. Let's say an individual with a disability needs someone to come into the home to cook, to clean, to do any of those activities of everyday living that a person might need. Personal support services are 100% an allowable expense in an ABLE account. If you have to utilize the services of an attorney or a CPA or any other type of professional because of that disability, you can use your ABLE account to pay for that. A number of people ask me about special needs trusts, and can I use an ABLE account to create a special needs trust? Absolutely. You can save the money in your ABLE account to pay the attorney to establish that special needs trust. The other thing that ABLE accounts are specifically allowed to be used for is end-of-life expenses. So if you need to pay for a funeral, a cremation, a casket, any of the services provided by an undertaker or anything like that, those are allowable expenses as well. Because as I said earlier, Medicaid does have the right to claim whatever's left in the account when the beneficiary passes away. So my advice to everyone that I talk to, use the money. That's what it's there for. If Medicaid is going to make a claim, and they may, leave them as little as possible. Pay for everything out of your ABLE account. That's why you save that money. Now, I do need to tell you that distributions for non-qualified expenses are subject to tax consequences and might impact your eligibility for federal or state means tested benefits. What does that mean? That means don't use this money for things other than what's on this list. Don't use this money to withdraw from an account and give it away. Don't give it away to charity. Don't give it away as a gift. That's not what this money's for. We have a number of examples that we think probably the IRS may question as to whether they're qualified disability expenses as well. Things like lottery tickets. You're going to have a hard time justifying to the IRS that buying a lottery ticket is a disability-related purchase. Alcohol, tobacco, things of that nature. I'm not saying don't buy those things. What I'm saying is don't use your ABLE money to buy those things. Save your ABLE money for the things that you're going to need that are disability related. The other one that I used as an example is jewelry. You're going to have a hard time justifying to the IRS that a diamond tiara is a disability expense. However, a medical alert bracelet, absolutely, that's an allowable expense. So you just need to have some ability to understand that if it's on this list, education, housing, transportation, medical costs, assistive technology, then you'll be fine. If you have any questions about whether an expense is going to be allowed and it's not on this list, I would err on the side of caution and don't use your ABLE account to pay for those things. Use other funds, use other money. Okay? So let's talk a little bit about the tax implications. I know a number of people, especially in this population, don't necessarily file taxes, but this is a great way to solicit donations from other people who do file taxes, because anyone who contributes to a Michigan ABLE account can claim up to a $5,000 income tax deduction on their Michigan income tax return. And for a joint couple, husband and wife, they can claim up to a $10,000 income tax deduction for contributions made to an ABLE account on their Michigan income tax return. So it's a great way to have mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, aunts, uncles, strangers, friends contribute to your account and give themselves an income tax deduction. This is the other thing that I talk to with parents about. A number of parents give individuals with disabilities an allowance, give them some money to play with. and spending money and things like that. Instead of doing that and just handing over the cash, make a contribution to an ABLE account and give yourself an income tax deduction. You're going to pay for that anyway. Give yourself an income tax deduction instead or first. In addition to the income tax deduction, Michigan also raised its 529 limit to $500,000, which means theoretically an individual could shelter $500,000 in an ABLE account and maintain eligibility for Medicaid and SNAP and any of the other programs that they're entitled to. Now, I understand that to save $500,000 is going to take a very long time, especially if you're limited to $15,000 a year. But for those individuals and those families that have a high net worth and high income, this is a great place to shelter assets to maintain that eligibility. The Michigan ABLE program does offer 5 different investment options, and they range in risk and costs. All of our investment costs are under 1%. All of our accounts have a program management fee that's 0.5%, and there is a $45 annual fee. We do have a number of our participants that are not interested in having a market risk account, which means an account that is subject to the whims of the stock market. And I understand that, especially with the way the stock market has been in the last few months. So in addition to those 5 investment options, we also have an FDIC insured money market option account, which has no market risk. You do not have to worry about the market going up or down with those accounts. If you put $5,000 in, that $5,000 will be there for you to use for your disability expenses. For those families that have an advisor, financial advisor, we also have the ability to enroll the advisor in our program so that he or she can manage the investments within the 529 ABLE program, so that you don't have to choose from our 5 different investment options. You can have your financial advisor choose whatever options you prefer or he or she thinks would be best for you. It's an option that a lot of people are starting to investigate because of the way the market is right now. Want to talk a little bit about customer service. We do have a dedicated customer service line that's here in the United States. The individuals at this phone number have been specially trained to help individuals with disabilities navigate our system, explain the program, and help people with enrollment, things of that nature. The one thing that they cannot do at customer service is offer investment advice. We're not going to tell you which investment you should be contributing to. We're not going to give advice on which investments you should stay away from or anything like that. We're not investment counselors. If you have questions about those kinds of things, you need to contact either a financial advisor or a stockbroker for those kinds of questions. But they are there to help you navigate the system. How do I make a contribution? How do I make a withdrawal? How do I enroll in an account? How do I add my dad's name to this account? Those kinds of questions, they can help you with that. And that's it. The phone number is 844-656-7225. In addition to our customer service line, all of our enrollment, all of our forms, all of our presentations, the presentation that you're watching now included, are on our website, which is www.miable.org. In addition to all of those resources that I mentioned before, it also has links so that if you want to email customer service, or if you have to fax customer service, or if you are TTY capable and you need the services of a TTY, you can contact them through our customer service line as well. Furthermore, on our website, we have all of the prospectuses for the various different investment options that we offer. You can dive in and see which types of mutual funds and which type of stocks are within each different investment portfolio, so that you can make a determination as to where you want your money invested, or if you want your money in the FDIC insured option. All of those options and choices are available on our website. Once again, that's www.miable.org. So I talked a little bit earlier about how you could use an ABLE account to help create a special needs trust. We are not touting or advocating for ABLE to be a replacement for a special needs trust. We understand that special needs trusts have their place, and they can be important, and they can very well be used in conjunction with an ABLE account. I'm not an expert on special needs trusts. That's not my realm of understanding or where my expertise is. But an ABLE account can be another tool in the tool belt. It can be another way for individuals with disabilities to plan and save for their future disability expenses. The expenses are going to be there. You are going to have expenses related to your disability. You might as well create a place to have that money saved in case it's needed. It's another tool in the tool belt. Now, like I said, I'm not here to say that a special needs trust isn't needed. It might be in your situation, but there are some advantages to an ABLE account. Number one, an ABLE account is cost effective. It's about $45 a year plus an investment cost plus a program management fee. Most people, $45 a year is not a whole lot of money. You have broader spending power that's available in an ABLE account. You can use it to pay for a lot more things than you can out of a special needs trust. And it's a lot easier to gain access to your funds. It's no different than using a bank account. You can transfer money from a bank account. You can transfer money in from a bank account very easily with a few keystrokes on the website. Furthermore, it's also a lot easier to fund an ABLE account because there's a state tax deduction. Anybody in the state of Michigan who contributes to your account can give themselves an income tax deduction, which is very beneficial for those people. You don't have to worry about filing any federal or state income tax returns on any earnings because this account is not a taxable entity. But the most important aspect, and the thing that we really talk to our beneficiaries about, is an ABLE account can be owned, established, and administered by the individual with a disability. It can be their first chance to help establish their financial future and their economic self-sufficiency. And that's one thing that we really, really want to capitalize on, because more and more we need people, in general people, to be more financially secure, to be more financially educated, to have more tools available to them to allow for financial literacy. That's what an ABLE account can do for this population. As I mentioned earlier, for far too long, we've told individuals with disabilities, stay broke. We don't even have a place for you to save money without jeopardizing your eligibility. Now we do. With an ABLE account, we can allow individuals to save for their expenses without jeopardizing their access to Medicaid and the other programs that they need. So this is where I'm going to talk a little bit about our website. I'm going to talk a little bit about how you would open an account. And I'm going to go really, well, we'll see how it works, okay? Bear with me. So across the top, and once again, this is at www.miable.org. This is the screen that you'll see when you go to that page. Across the top, the very first tab is called Why MiABLE, and it basically lists all the different reasons that an individual might want to open an ABLE account. Second tab is account holders, and that's where individuals who have already opened an account can make contributions, can make withdrawals, can make modifications to their investment vehicles, things of that nature. Give a gift, I'm going to talk about in a second. Contact us, that's how you get in touch with customer service. Like I said, we have fax, email, phone call, TTY. We have a number of ways that you can get in customer service. Across the bottom, you can't really see it right now, but there are three different icons, and they are things. There's an eligibility quiz, which we're going to talk about in a second. There are FAQs, frequently asked questions. There are a number of questions out there that have answers posted. That's, somebody says, who's eligible for an ABLE account? And you'll hear me talking about individuals who became disabled before age 26, individuals who don't have an ABLE account open in another state. Here are the three ways that you can prove eligibility. It's actually interactive, where you click on the question and I will provide for you the answer. The third thing, and unfortunately we haven't been able to do this very much recently, is our events. Prior to the COVID-19 coronavirus crisis, I was traveling throughout the state of Michigan explaining to groups like you the benefits of the ABLE program and trying to get the word out about this program. So hopefully at some point in the future, I will be able to see people like you individually, one-on-one, in a setting where I can actually shake hands. And we're all looking forward to that. I don't know when that'll be, but until then, this is how we'll continue to do these presentations. So that's the home screen of the MiABLE program. If you are ready to open an account, all you have to do is up in the upper right-hand corner, there's a link that says open an account. You click on that. And the first thing we do is we ask you some eligibility questions. Is this account for you? Are you the power of attorney or the guardian or the parent? Did you have a disability before age 26? Are you eligible for SSI or SSDI? One thing I want to mention, you do not need to be receiving SSI or SSDI. You only need to be eligible for it. There are a number of people who have decided for whatever reason they don't want to collect, but they're eligible. That's fine. You don't have to be collecting in order to be eligible to open an ABLE account. And I know a number of people don't have online capability, don't have online access, can't get to a computer, don't have internet, things like that. If you contact us at that customer service line, 844-656-7225, we can mail you a packet of information in order to enroll via paper. Takes a little bit longer. We have to do a little bit more back and forth with mail, but the bottom line is that capability is available to individuals who do not have computer or internet access. So once you've taken the eligibility quiz and we have determined that yes, in fact, you are eligible, we ask you to create a username and password. Just like any other financial institution, whether it's a bank or a brokerage account or a stock market account, anything like that, we have to go through the same identity theft and Patriot Act checks that any other financial institution would have to go through. We are the state of Michigan. We do require you to document and to verify who we're opening an account for. We always ask for electronic delivery of documents. Let's face it, it's 2020. If we didn't have electronic delivery of documents, we wouldn't even be able to have this conversation right now because we're doing everything electronically at this point. It just makes it a lot easier. It's a lot faster. And quite frankly, it's a lot less expensive to send electrons through the internet than it is to send a piece of paper through the mail and put a stamp on it. The other thing that is on this page is the ability to add an authorized signer. So let's say you have an individual with a disability with both mom and dad want access to their ABLE account. Here's where you can add both mom and dad to the ABLE account. Also, if you want to add a sibling or another family member to the account, we have a number of individuals whose parents are elderly and they want to make sure that either a sibling or an aunt or someone else is also on these accounts to help administer them when the parent does pass away. This is the page where you can do that. I mentioned earlier that we have 5 different investment options available to you. This page will help you determine, number 1, which investments you'd like to be in, if you want to be in those investments, and number 2, in which ratios. So if you don't have to put all the money in one type of account, you could spread it among all 5. You could only do 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 5. It doesn't matter, but this is the page that allows you to make those changes if you want to make changes. All right, I'm going to take a drink. Because this is one of the cool features that so far no other state has duplicated. This is one of the things that we're really proud with in Michigan, because a lot of states are like, oh, that's super cool. We have created the ability to allow individuals to create a public profile. To say, hi, my name is Scott. I'm saving for a wheelchair accessible van for my daughter. I would like to know if you would consider contributing to my account. It's a chance for individuals to crowdfund their account, to tell their story, to solicit donations, to help them pay for the expenses of this disability. I know a number of families, and I've talked to a number of families who have said, you know, their aunt or their uncle or their grandparent really wants to help pay for some of these services, but I can't give them cash because they're going to lose their eligibility. here's a great way for all those people to make contributions to this person's disability expenses without jeopardizing their eligibility for those benefits. It's really simple to do, and these are actual live Michigan Medicaid beneficiaries. The pictures you're about to see are real. So if you click on Give a Gift, all our donation portals or profiles open up, and you can search for whomever you're looking for, or you can scroll through and just read the stories. You can hear people tell about what their disability has done to them, what their desires, what their dreams are, what they want to do with this money. Why are they creating an MiABLE account? This is a chance for people to tell their story. And once you've decided if you want to make a contribution, it is super easy to do. All you have to do is click on their name. And once you do that, it opens their profile so that you can read their story and that you can make a contribution. It's just like making a bank transaction. We need your routing number, your account number. And the other thing that we'll need from you as the donation is your demographic information, because we need to send you a 1099 at the end of the year, because your income tax deduction, your contribution could be an income tax deduction for you. So you want to have that information. So I'm going to stop now and see how many questions and answers I have. Let's see.
Scott, I have a log of those that you haven't answered yet.
Okay, great.
So you answered several of them as you were going along.
Okay.
Let me go back a bit here. So
Sure.
Is food allowed as an expense?
Absolutely. All the activities of everyday living is an allowable expense. Here's the warning that I give, however. There are a number of places. I always use Meijer's. I got a Meijer's 2 miles away from my home. Meijer's is a great example of, yes, if you go to Meijer's and buy shampoo and toilet paper, if you can find it, and food and groceries and things like that, those are all allowable expenses. Absolutely. They're required to maintain your housing. They're sheltered, essentially. The problem is Meijer also sells Jack Daniels and Jim Beam and ammunition and things like that. Well, those things probably are not going to be considered qualified disability expenses. So you may have to keep that receipt to show the IRS that, yeah, I only bought food, which is why I advise people, don't use this account for those everyday things. Don't use this account like your regular bank account. Use this to save for your long-term disability expenses. If you've got to buy a wheelchair, one of those $2,000 fancy wheelchairs, or a $78,000 wheelchair accessible vehicle, or you have to pay $10,000 to put a ramp into your homes to allow for wheelchair accessibility, that's what you want to use your MiABLE account for. Don't use this to buy a Snickers. Don't use this to buy, shampoo and toilet paper. It's not worth it. Use your regular bank account for that. So the answer to your question is yes, you can use it for food. I wouldn't recommend using it for food. Use this for your disability expenses.
This is Tedra. So if you do use it for food, are you saying you need to keep all your receipts? If I was buying my groceries every other week at Meijer, I would need to keep all of my receipts so that if the IRS asks me or whatever, then I can produce those receipts to show that I only purchased food.
That is exactly correct. Yes. You would want to keep those receipts to verify, yes, in fact, I paid for qualified disability expenses, the activities of everyday living, and not alcohol and cigarettes. Yes, you'd want to keep that for 7 years.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mike, back to you.
Thank you. Next question was, is there a debit card fee when making a transaction?
Yes. If you are in the FDIC insured option, sorry, I'm going to go back on my slides so you can see the picture of it. I didn't actually talk about it. I apologize. I missed something and I went too far. There's a picture of our disability card, our debit card that you can use to pay for your qualified disability expenses. It is accepted anywhere Visa is accepted. Please don't try using it at a casino. That's not going to work. But anywhere you can use a Visa card, you can use to pay for your disability expenses with that card. And it is optional. You do not need to get a card. If you have an individual with a disability who for whatever reason doesn't want a card, you don't have to get the card. It's not required.
Thank you. Next question is, why is there a monthly fee to maintain an ABLE account?
There isn't a monthly fee. All our fees are taken quarterly. But the answer to the question is, we do not, the company that does all of our record keeping, does the website, creates the cards, the state of Michigan does not pay them. I don't write them a check every month. They are paid through the fees. So that's why we have fees. It would be great if we didn't have fees, if we could run our own computer system and our own website, but we don't. So that's why there are fees assessed, is in order to pay for those services, to pay for the investments, to pay for the oversight, to pay for the computer program, all those technical things. So that's why. Sorry, Mike. I just want to mention, there are a number of people who look at the fees associated with a 529 ABLE account and compare them to a 529 education account. You're comparing apples to oranges. 529 education accounts have been around for 30 years. Their costs are much lower. You are absolutely right. However, if you compare 529 ABLE account fees from, say, Indiana to Michigan or Illinois to Michigan, they're pretty much the same. They're usually $45 to $50 on an annual basis, plus the investment fees. So yes, if you're comparing an ABLE account to an education account, my fees are a lot higher. Absolutely, I agree with you.
Next question was, might have to clarify this one. So for people on SSI and SSDI that have to report income yearly, do we include it with all our income or do we report it separately?
I'm not an expert on how to record the income. Remember, this is not an income shelter. This is an asset shelter. I am absolutely positive that Social Security will want to know if you have an ABLE account and what your balance is in that ABLE account. I haven't seen the forms. I don't know exactly how it's reported to them, but yes, you will have to report this as an asset, but it won't affect your eligibility.
Great, thank you.
Hey, Mike.
Yep, go ahead.
There was a couple of questions. If you'd like to donate, how do you go about that?
Okay. Easiest. That it? Okay. The easiest thing to do is go to our website, www.miable.org, and then you click on Give a Gift. And once you're on Give a Gift, it will take you to the profile pages, and you can search for a person or you can find whoever you want. There's the donation page right there. So see up at the top, it says Give a Gift. That's where you click on, www.miable.org.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next question was, do you have to be told by SSA you would be eligible, or can you just think you are?
Okay. Eligible for SSI. Let me answer the question this way. We do have an eligibility quiz that will determine whether you are eligible or not after you answer the questions. So I'm not positive what that question means, but if, for instance, if SSA says, no, you are not disabled, which happens, you can still open an ABLE account with a doctor's certification. So if you have a doctor that signs off and says, this person has a disabling condition, this condition has lasted more than a year, and this condition happened before age 26, you can open an ABLE account. You do not need to be collecting or receiving SSI. That's one of the possible ways that you can be eligible.
Great. Next question was, can folks open ABLE accounts with banks in their local communities? Folks like to be able to talk to a person face-to-face when money is involved.
You are absolutely right. People love to be able to talk one-on-one in person to somebody, especially when they're talking about their money, which is why I did a lot of in-person parent meetings, meeting with the ISDs and things like that, especially when the program was first starting. However, with a state the size of Michigan and the ruralness of, for instance, the Upper Peninsula, we didn't have a bank or a credit union or anyone who we could partner with that would give enough of the state of Michigan a broad reach. So that's why we did an online component. Yes, I understand there are individuals who do not have web capability, but at this point, it would have been too hard. A number of banks are getting away from their brick and mortar, stores. So that's why we went online. It's unfortunate. We understand that is at a cost. There are some individuals who won't be able to participate until they have either a computer or web access. But we had to make the decision that we didn't have any one bank that was representative of the entire state, because on the east side of the state, in the Detroit area, you see a lot of these banks. On the west side, you see a lot of these banks. And up in the Upper Peninsula, you don't see any of those banks. So that's why we went with an online component.
A couple more questions. It was my understanding that stimulus checks would not affect benefits. Is this true of all state and federal benefits? Not sure if you can answer this question or if it's relevant.
Here's the answer that I can give you. The stimulus check in and above itself will not change your benefits. However, let's pretend for a minute that you have $1,000 in your bank account and you get that stimulus check deposited. Now you have $2,200 in your bank account. What does that automatically trigger? You are now above the asset limit, and therefore you are subject to having your benefits reduced. That's what we're talking about. If you're getting close to that $2,000, here is a place where you can put the money, other than your coffee can or your mattress, that it can actually do something. You can actually save it for your disability expenses. So yes, the question is correct. The check itself is not going to change your eligibility. But once you deposit that check, and the amount of assets you have in your bank account might impact your eligibility. That's what this program can help you with.
Next one was, can I use the money for going to visit family in another state or within the state to visit family?
If you are paying for transportation, it is a 100% an allowable expense. And I'm gonna skip ahead because there's a question that I always get, and here it comes. Can I go to Disney World? And a lot of people want to do that. They want to travel. The answer that I give to that question is this: getting to Disney World is transportation. Whether you take a plane, a boat, a bus, a car, it's transportation. When you're at Disney World, paying for the hotel is housing, shelter. It's an allowable expense. I would not use MiABLE account to pay for the ticket into the park. That you're going to have a hard time justifying to the IRS as a disability expense, because that would be, for instance, I don't even know what they would classify that as. But getting there and staying there are allowable expenses when it opens. Soon, I hope.
Great. One more question. Will my non-disabled child benefit from MiABLE accounts?
I'm going to answer that two different ways. An individual who is not disabled cannot have an ABLE account. You must be disabled in order to have an ABLE account. Now, if an individual, and this is how I think this question is worded, if an individual with a disability has a sibling or a close family member, and that's the IRS's terminology, a close family member, who also has a disability, then upon the first individual's passing, they can transfer that money to a close family member who is ABLE eligible as well. Now, an individual who is not disabled, has no disability, is not entitled to an ABLE account at all. They can't have one. This account is only for people with disabilities. So this is like one of the first things ever that non-disabled people can't have. This is just for individuals with disabilities.
Great. There was a new one in the chat. Do you know which banks in the Grand Rapids area would allow someone to open an ABLE account?
I don't have any banks in the Grand Rapids area. In fact, if you go to a bank, they probably aren't even going to know what an ABLE account is. I talked with my financial advisor last summer and said, "Hey, do you know anything about ABLE accounts?" And he said no. He didn't even know what they were. So we are definitely lacking in our awareness throughout the state and throughout the country. But there are no banks that offer this program. In order to enroll in our ABLE program, you have to go to our website, www.miable.org.
Great, thanks, Scott. And I guess finally, this would be for both you and Tedra, is will the slides be available after the presentation today?
All of my slides are on my website, and I have already shared my slides with Tedra. So there's 100 people on here. I don't know how they do distributions, but we've got them and we can get them to you. So yes, we've got them.
Mike, yeah, we will add them as a resource when we get everything up on the website.
Great, that's all the questions I have.
All right.
I want to check in with Tracy to see if there's any Facebook comments or questions.
There's not at this time.
But I must have done a really good job.
Are there any comments or questions that were not in the chat? If you just want to ask a question of Scott, now is the time.
I have a couple. Actually, oh, sorry. One from Sandy. What is the process for changing a 529 to a MiABLE account?
Oh, great question. Once again, I have to direct you to the website, but on our website, under our forms page, there is a, I'm going to mess up the word, a rollover form, which allows individuals to roll money from a 529 education program into a 529 ABLE program. So you have to complete that. You'd have to have that filled out by both the person rolling the money over and your 529 plan administrator. The other thing I want to mention while I'm on this screen, if any individuals out there have questions that they want to ask personally, that is my email address, miable@michigan.gov. A lot of people don't want to talk specifically about their own individual case. What about this? What about that? If you want to talk individually to me, that's my email address, miable@michigan.gov. Feel free to email me. Furthermore, it hasn't happened so much recently, but it has happened where an individual will be talking to like a DHHS caseworker, and the caseworker will say, well, no, if you have an ABLE account, you can't be eligible. If you have any situations like that, please feel free to email me or to have the caseworker email me. I'd be more than happy to set them straight.
I have a question. Hello.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Harriet.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yep.
I have a question. I'm sorry we were about 15 or 20 minutes late, but is this a program in which it's just contributions from individuals, or is this the state of Michigan puts in money, or how does that work?
The contributions can come from any individual. It's not, the state doesn't match anything like that. It's not like a retirement account or anything that's government sponsored, but anyone can contribute to anyone's ABLE account. So if you or your family member has an ABLE account, I could contribute to it, or Mike could contribute to it. Even Tedra can contribute to it. Anyone can contribute to it, which makes it really flexible, and it makes it a great way to help individuals save for their future expenses. But there is no matching component or any government contribution as a part of this. The other nice thing is they are, we have a number of investment options. So if the market does well, your ABLE account does well. Unfortunately, recently the market hasn't done so well, so ABLE accounts haven't done so well. But it is something that that anyone can make a contribution to.
Okay, I'm an investment advisor also, and my other question is, can organizations, 501c3 organizations, also contribute to this account?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, and then the last question is, if a person is getting unemployment, can that go into an ABLE account?
Yes. There are no limits as to what contributions can be made to an ABLE account, but I do want to mention one thing because that reminded me of something. A number of people ask if they can contribute their Social Security checks to ABLE accounts. The answer to that is yes. The only thing that they do is do a direct deposit from SSI to ABLE. It has to have that bank account or credit union account, financial entity in the middle. Social Security deposits to a bank account deposits to an ABLE account. And that's how that, but it can go 100%. All of it can go right into an ABLE account.
Okay, and that might help eliminate the $2,000 deal if you go
Exactly.
straight to the MiABLE account instead of the bank.
Exactly correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Mike, there's a couple more questions in the chat.
Yep, I'm just looking through them here. Go back up to the most recent one. Our daughter uses her cell phone for such things as reminders for work or meds. Do the covers and accessories when a new purchase of a phone is done qualify?
Absolutely. Yep.
Does MiABLE have any formal partnerships with any statewide organizations?
I don't want to say it's a formal partnership. We have partnered with a number of disability advocacy groups, Autism Speaks. I've got a whole list of them that we've done outreach with, Michigan Special Education, where we've done events, co-events, joint events, but nothing formalized to where we'd say this is our partner or anything like that. That being said, we're always looking for more ways to get the word out. Here's something I forgot to mention also. I had to look this up first thing this morning. In the state of Michigan, we have opened just over 4,100 accounts, and we have just over $15.2 million contributed thus far into MiABLE accounts. So it is working. People are working it, but we need to get the word out. We figure there's probably 300,000 individuals in the state of Michigan who could avail themselves of this program, and we've got 4,000, roughly 1%. So we've got to help get the word out, and it's a lot more difficult when you're stuck at home, isn't it? So there you go.
What is the lowest contribution monthly, or is there a minimum?
There is no monthly minimum required. I can tell you this, I've got a number of accounts where people have opened it with $25 and haven't done anything with it. And it's those kinds of people that are really upset by the fees. I'm like, well, if you only put $25 in, then you're not using the account for what it's for anyway. Use these accounts for long-term savings. Use these accounts when you're getting close to that $2,000 and put the money in here. If you're just going to put 50 bucks in, you might as well put that 50 bucks in a coffee can because you're not doing anything with it. So, but there are no real monthly limit. I'm not going to come knock on your door if you haven't put $25 in a month. I'm not going to do that. So we have a number of accounts that don't have any money in it at all. They've opened the account, but they haven't funded it yet. So there's no minimums.
Finally, is there a maximum age to start an MiABLE account?
No, absolutely not. As long as your disability happened before age 26, I don't care if you're 126 today, I'll open an account for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have one more last question. This is Harriet.
Go ahead.
Is there a way, or have you considered, instead of the stock options, to have maybe a fixed account so there wouldn't be any fees? Because I understand, if you have stocks and mutual funds, it's fees. But what if you had a fixed account so you wouldn't have to have that type of fee? Have that ever been considered?
Yes, there is an FDIC insured option. It still has the program management fee associated to it, and of course the annual fee, but there is no market fee. There is no investment fee with that particular choice. So we have an FDIC insured option as well.
Okay.
Todd Koopmans, did you have a question?
I thought there was age limit in order to put money in, that it was between 46 and 49 years old.
No, Todd, there's no age limit for contributions.
Janelle, did you have a question? Go ahead and unmute.
Hi, Scott. We were wondering, or several of us have asked, can we have folks open MiABLE accounts with their regular bank? Sometimes people want a face to be able to see in order to give money away.
Yeah, and unfortunately, there is no partnership with a Michigan bank. There is no, you couldn't walk into your local, credit union and say, I want to open an MiABLE account. Unfortunately, that's not how the IRS mandates that these programs be run by the individual states. I work for the Department of Treasury. I work for the state of Michigan. So that's the way that it has to work. And I certainly understand there's a number of people that my wife's grandfather used to love going to the bank. He'd go to the bank twice a week just to say hi to all the tellers. Because it felt him, he grew up during the Depression. It felt he was much more secure knowing the people at the bank who had his money. And I understand that. However, that's not the way that this program is run. This program is administered by the Department of Treasury. And so we have to do an online component in order to create this. So yeah, you may have to mail checks. You may have to do your transactions online as opposed to going and talking to a teller.
Tedra, do we have time for one last question?
We do, and I have one question. I might have missed it in the presentation. Can you direct deposit into your ABLE account? Can you set it up for a direct deposit? Okay, thank you.
In fact, one of the things that we've done, obviously we want to make it easy for people to move their money within an ABLE account. So we can set up automatic withdrawals, automatic contributions from your bank account so that we can say, okay, on the 15th of each month after I get my Social Security check, I want you to put $50 into my ABLE account. And it'll just happen every month. You don't have to worry about it. So yeah, we do allow the ability to create recurring withdrawals and recurring deposits.
Great, thank you.
Last question.
Mike, yes, we have another question. We do have time.
All right. Matt gets the last question today. He says he thinks he opened an account but never put money in it. Is it still there, or do they get deleted for being inactive?
We have not deleted any accounts, so your information still may be out there. It may be in an inactive state. So what you'll need to do is contact customer service. You probably need to get a password reset and things of that nature. But if you contact customer service, they'll be able to reset your account up.
All right, great. That's all we have.
Well, I want to thank all of you for participating. I know there were a lot of people on there. The one thing I want to mention is this is the first time since March that I've actually worn a shirt with a collar. So I appreciate that. I've been in sweats and a t-shirt for the past 3 months. So thank you for making me get dressed this morning.
Thank you, Scott. And I did receive from NACDD, the Council's national organization, an FAQ that they put together with NAST. It's an FAQ on the ABLE account and the stimulus checks. Okay. And they want us as a state to customize it with our state-specific information has some of those questions about the checks, what the checks can be used for. I just received it this morning. So, Scott, I'm going to get it over to you for you to put your information in. We'll customize it with the council's information, and we will have it available as a resource when we get all the resources up, and you'll be able to use it as well.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. Thank you.
But I got it this morning so close to the presentation. They just finished it like yesterday. So we weren't able to make it available before the presentation, but we will definitely make it available after. And the other thing is that next week's topic, we will be back at 11 o'clock next Thursday. And the topic is on mental health, self-care, and staying connected. We do not want people to be suffering from depression and anxiety by being isolated and staying at home. So next week's speakers and resources will be all about how you can take care of yourself and stay connected during this time. So we hope that many of you, or if not all of you, will join us again next Thursday, May 21st at 11 a.m.
Okay, and will that Zoom ID as well as password be the same, or will you send it to us, or how does that work?
We will send it. I send it out. It's a different link every week. But if you do, did you get an email directly from me from jacksont7@michigan.gov?
Oh, I don't know who I got it from.
If you put your email in the chat, Harriet, I will make sure that I add you to the list, to the distribution list.
Thank you.
And that goes for anyone else that's still on. If you want to get the information directly, because maybe it was forwarded to you, if you put your email in the chat box, I will add you to our distribution list, so you will get the future announcements. And that concludes, if there are no more questions for Scott, that concludes our webinar for today.
Thank you, everyone.
I won't
Appreciate your
close
time.
out because I see that people are still adding their emails, but Scott, you are free to go. And it's a nice looking shirt.
Well, thank you very much.
So we're glad we got to see it.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and enjoy well, we're going to have good weather this weekend, even though right now it's not the best because it's raining everywhere.
Have a good week.
Thank you. It was great information.